So I don't really know what I'm going to title this, but I just want to talk about the Houston Rockets for a bit. Yesterday's game against the Spurs just made the Houston Rockets my second favorite team in the playoffs so far. Of all this talk of people saying if it's not the Golden State Warriors, then it's going to be the Spurs in the finals, the Houston Rockets have creaked in from the back and just shut down that whole conversation. Yes, you can say it's only one game and it's only game one of the semifinals, but you can tell by yesterday's game that the Spurs thought that the Houston Rockets were going to be an easy competition, and the Rockets just completely destroyed them. It was just like a nice big slap across the face. I for one also thought that if it wasn't Golden State, it was going to be the Spurs. But after yesterday's game, and I'm not going to be, what do they call it? A prisoner of the moment and just say that the Houston Rockets are going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. But if the Rockets play this way throughout the entire playoffs, not exactly this way, but even if it's 80% of how they played in game one, I honestly believe that they can make it tough for the Warriors and maybe even go to 7. So this caused me to make some new calculations. So here they are. If the Houston Rockets win game 2 by like, I don't know, 10-20 points, then they go back to Houston, and even if they lose one of those games, they'll still be up 3-1. If they can close it out in San Antonio, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but if they can close it, then they'd win in 5. If they lose that, then they're most likely going to win in 6, because I don't see that going to 7 if they're up 3-1. Then they'd have at least 4 or 5 days of rest. Maybe, yeah, about 4 days of rest. That's 4 days of rest for them to get ready to verse Golden State. Let's say Golden State wins in 5 games, which I can see that happening because Utah Jazz aren't really that much of a competition. Yeah, they're pretty good. They got Gordon Hayward and Rudy Gobert and all those people. And, hey, they might even win 2 games. I'm not sure. But they might lose in 5. So the Warriors are going to have also 4 or 5 days of rest. But when it comes to Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors, they have a very similar game. Both those teams rely mostly on their 3-point shooting. If you notice the teams that beat the Warriors, it's always the teams that can catch up with them in transition, or the teams that can outshoot them. And I think the only 2 teams that can outshoot the Warriors in the league are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Houston Rockets. And with the Houston Rockets, they got some of the best snipers in the entire league. They got shooters from all places on the court. You mix that with a distributor like James Harden and a big guy defender like Capella or Nene, that's a stacked roster, and that's actually some real competitive competition for the Warriors. And as you can see, it's also competition for the Spurs. I don't believe that the Spurs are going to be any competition at all for the Warriors because, first of all, they're an old team, and the Spurs just can't catch up on transition, and they can't shoot the lights out like the Warriors can. So it's going to be really not a fun series to watch if it's Spurs versus the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. Now, if it's Houston, that would probably be the best Western Conference Finals we'll have in like the past, I don't know, 5 years, maybe even 6 or 7. I can't even think of the last Western Conference Finals that would be as good as Houston versus Warriors. And I'm not even trying to like completely eliminate the thought of the Spurs making to the Western Conference Finals, but seeing where the Spurs are at right now, it just seems for the past 3 years they've just been doing really good in the regular season, and then when they get to the playoffs, they'll lose in the first round, they'll lose in the second round, and now it looks like they're going to lose in the second round again. So, I mean, with the Spurs, they're kind of becoming a regular season team, and they're really missing Tim Duncan, prime Tim Duncan, right now, because if Tim Duncan was on that team, prime Tim Duncan was on that team, they would have destroyed they would have destroyed the Rockets, they would easily destroy the Warriors, but of course he's not there. So with the Houston Rockets, let's say for some chance, somehow a miracle happens and they beat the Warriors, which I think that's like 90% sure that the Warriors are going to make it to the finals, but let's say that 10% of a chance happens and the Houston Rockets do make it to the finals. That would probably be the greatest accomplishment the Rockets have ever had, even more when they had Hakeem Olajuwon and they won 2 straight. Because when Hakeem won, Michael Jordan wasn't in the league at that time, so it was an easy way to the championship during that time because Michael Jordan, of course, he was retired. But if the Houston Rockets are able to beat the Spurs and then beat the Warriors and make it to the finals, which I don't think that even if they do some miracle make it to the finals, there's no way they're beating Cleveland. I don't even think the Warriors are going to beat Cleveland, let alone the Houston Rockets, and I don't even think the Houston Rockets are going to get past the Warriors. But again, we're speaking hypothetically. So if the Rockets are able to make it to the finals, that would be like the greatest thing to ever happen in NBA history, in my opinion. Because you get to knock down 2 juggernauts like that and have only 1 All-Star on your team. That's incredible. But again, guys, Houston Rockets fans, don't get your hopes up because it's not happening. I'm just speaking hypothetically. They're not going to beat the Warriors, and they have like a, I don't know, I'm going to give them a 60-65% chance of beating the Spurs. I honestly think that they can like really beat the Spurs, probably in 6. And if it gets to 7, I still think that the Houston Rockets are going to win. But I'm obviously talking too early, and I'm probably gonna get proven wrong. Hopefully not, because I really want to see Houston versus Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. But that's all imagination, and I just wanted to talk about the Houston Rockets, to be honest, because what I saw yesterday was awesome. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.